Today's carry is my Strider SMF Hybrid Gunner Grip G10 Flame Lego Titanium and PSF 27 steel. This one's breaking in nicely. You can see I've used it some. There's that PSF 27 stamp. It's breaking in nicely, like I said. Let's roll the credits. Today I'm going to do a video on the 2017 Blade Forms knife, which happens to be a TC Barlow. And if you're not familiar, TC Barlows are an SFO from a guy named Charlie Campagna, and I'll cover the number scheme again. And this number, the way they use the numbers on these models is the same for all GEC made knives. So 15 is the pattern, 3 is the shape of the main blade, so 3 is sheep's foot, 1 is the number of blades on the knife, so there's only 1 blade on this knife, and then the last 2 numbers are the year that the knife was produced. So this knife was just released, so obviously it's a 2017. Usually on every TC knife there is some type of a story there, and I'm sorry for the light, but I'll block it, and I'll leave this here. You can pause it if you want to read that. I'm not going to read that to you. Now, if you watched my Little Bay video, I was a little bit critical of the Little Bay because I knew all the time GEC is capable of producing this level of quality, and I wasn't accepting of the fact of the quality level of the Little Bays, and I've received some comments in my channel comments here and on my Instagram page. So I know that I'm not the only one, but I'm going to show you this knife here. You'll see the level of quality here. There are 2 things that I'll mention, but I don't think are really big issues. But there are 2 things that I'll mention about this knife that you could consider a QC flaw. Nothing that's going to affect the function, but something that you might note if it was your knife. And I know that some people are going to look at this and go, this is a tool, that's nitpicking, whatever. But let's face it, guys, we all buy all of these knives. These are functional pieces of art to us. We love looking at them. Otherwise you would just have the one plain beater knife that you use. So yes, I am going to sound a little bit nitpicky. No, I'm not getting rid of the knife. No, I'm not complaining about the knife. I'm just giving you guys a full perspective on the knife, which I think that too many people don't do in the knife world. I think that we give people passes, and I also feel like people don't want to come off as controversial. If I can't show you something, I'm not going to mention it, but if I can show you something and it's noteworthy, I am going to mention it. So that's just kind of how I do. Anyway, on to the knife. You'll see here that the bolster is satin finished. The micarta is satin finished. Lots and lots and lots of people were waiting for a micarta TC. So when the vote came through, everyone voted, or majority of the people voted for micarta. So we lucked out and we got natural micarta on our form knife this year. So first thing I'll note is, again, the high level of quality on this knife. You'll notice that the line on the bolster is the same depth all the way across. It is the same thickness all the way across in this dimension here. It perfectly lines up with the line on the other side. The stamp, the TC, is perfect on both sides. You'll see that that is also perfectly symmetrical. Note how tight the liners are to the back spring. You can see here that even in the closed position, that back spring is perfectly flush. I mean, there's nothing there that you can feel. The first thing I'll note is that you can kind of see here that micarta doesn't go all the way up to that bolster. Now that's not one of the things that I would note, but if we're going to look at the knife on this level, I'll include it here. You can see on the other side that is not the case. That micarta goes all the way up to the bolster and it meets the bolster very well. You can barely feel the difference between the micarta and the bolster here. Here you can't, here you can't, and here you can't. So 3 of the 4 corners are very smooth transition wise. Now one of the main problems I had with the Little Bay was the centering. And again, you know, it was kind of like, oh, it's a production knife that's within acceptable tolerances. Well, this is the GEC product that I'm used to getting. I hope you all can see this is perfectly centered. Now I know there's going to be a little bit of variance, but if you go back and look at my Little Bay video, especially that burlap micarta knife, there's no way in the world that that's even close to centered. So you can see there, perfect centering. While we're looking at this, I'll mention one of the things that I would have mentioned if I had concerns about the knife would be, I don't know if I'm going to get it to focus now. Okay. You can kind of see there the back of the back spring, the butt of the back spring. There's a gap between the liner and the very edge of that back spring. You can see that it looks like maybe the spring twisted like this and it was ground a little bit. But again, that's a nitpick. It doesn't affect the function. It's just something that you don't usually see on GEC knives. Usually they're very square, very flush, very flat. So that's not the case on the other side. You can see that the back spring is square to the liner on the other side. In the half stop, and this is rare for a production knife, GEC or any other, the back spring is perfectly flush. You can see the back spring almost disappears on those bolsters. It is almost perfectly flush. Matter of fact, I can't feel a difference with my finger. Now, when you open the knife all the way up, there is, and I'll try to shut up so you can hear it. You can barely catch the back spring. I mean, not the back spring, the liner on this side. It's not so much on the other side, but it's ever so slightly sunken, the back spring is, on fully open. But if you're holding a knife, if you're using a knife, you can't tell that at all. So again, these are little nitpicky things. They're not things that I would consider flaws per se. They're not things that I would want to get rid of the knife for any reason for. But they are things that I will note. Hand-drawn swedge here. And again, you can see the hand-drawn swedge is pretty much perfect. I mean, I can't tell that it's off any significant amount, any appreciable amount. So again, that was the reason. Oh, walk and talk. I'll let you listen to the walk and talk. I know a lot of people were mentioning that they were having some trouble with the action of the knife upon receiving the knife. Some even mentioned some problems after flushing the knife. As you see here, this one operates very well. Good walk and talk, decent snap. It is a 15, so the pull is a little bit lighter. I do like a heavier pull, but this is a 15, so again, it is going to be a little bit on the lighter side. Overall, great knife. Very glad I got the chance to buy one. I know that some of these have already been selling on the secondary. They seem to be going for fair prices. This is definitely something that I would pick up if you are into traditional knives, or this would be a great first knife if you were trying to get into traditional knives, because usually you can't pick up a TC Barlow for the price that these are going for, even on the secondary. So definitely a great buy. Glad I got one. This is the quality level that I have seen consistently from GEC and what I expect. So now you all can kind of see where I was going with my other video on the Little Bay. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.